Low quality fans of a high quality playoff franchise team, whomever that team may be. I've said that so many times now. Would you believe that I'm at 30 pages of notes across all of the preview stuff? Oh, how is this harder than the regular season? It's really not. What's up, everybody? We're going to talk about the Oilers versus the Golden Knights today. Very, very exciting series. Potentially the best series of the second round. It has that potential. It really does. But quickly, we're going to go over the rules and how I do this. First of all, I focus far more on the 3 months leading up to the playoffs. Most of the data I'll use will be focused on that. I think it gives a better snapshot of where a team is in most cases. The advanced analytics I use are from naturalstattrick.com. Home ice means next to nothing to me outside of extreme cases like the last video I just posted. And then predictions at the end are bullshit. So let's talk about this Oilers-Knights series from the perspective of a diehard Thrashers fan. All right. Let's talk about the Oilers first and how we got here. The question obviously being, can McDavid and Draisaitl beat the entire Vegas team? No, they can't. But they don't have to. And I'm genuinely surprised about how their previous round went. Obviously, the road to the second round was a familiar one, with them beating the Kings for the fourth straight time. But the season was far from what we expected. Over the last 10 weeks of the season, their offense, power play, penalty kill, defense, and goaltending all sat in the bottom half of the league rankings. Sure, there were injuries and plenty of them, but boy, howdy, there's not a lot of confidence to gain from a stretch like that. They were getting outscored soundly at 5-on-5, despite creating chances at a rate that would put them in the top 10 of the league. We went over a lot of this already in the previous series preview, and even ended that little section with the assumption of them locking in and bouncing back for the playoffs. Well, that's what happened in a major way in most facets of their game, against one of the most structured defenses in the entire league, despite Skinner's disaster class and Picard's backup level play. The Oilers still managed to outscore the Kings at 5-on-5 through the series. The only reason this series was even close was frankly the goaltending. The Oilers had to fight back from a 2-0 games deficit in that series. The goaltending was so bad. It was so bad. The Oilers were by far the better team in front of the net, boasting a 5-on-5 expected goals for percentage of 60% in the series. They allowed 12 goals in their first two games and still managed to have an expected goals for percentage that high. That's crazy. Like, usually if you're allowing that much, the numbers reflect a little bit that you should be allowing close to that, and you're definitely not winning that battle at a tune of 60% to 40%. That's ridiculous. Seriously, the goaltending was so abysmal. It was so bad, and Vegas might steamroll these guys if that doesn't rebound at a higher level than it did. The Golden Knights lead up to this. This feels like one of the easier previews, by the way. I feel like there's less information in this one than I typically do. But the Golden Knights, in particular, are one of the easiest teams to do a preview for because they are a top 10 team in almost every way. And that was basically start to finish of the whole regular season. The penalty kill was the only concern going into the playoffs. And in the playoffs, or at least through 6 games against the Wild, it was fine. It wasn't good, but it was fine. And that's what they were hoping for. Fine was better than 30th in the league, which they had a stretch there towards the end of the season where they were bottom 3 in the league. They have fairly strong depth, which will likely be pointed at as their greatest advantage as they go against yet another top-heavy team. Despite the Oilers' surprising depth impact in round 1, I wouldn't assume that would continue at that kind of level. They have arguably the best back end in hockey, with each pair capable of playing meaningful minutes. Adin Hill had a rough first round, and not only against just the Wild's top line, their depth got in on the scoring too. His .880 save percentage from round 1 likely won't be enough against an Oilers squad that averaged over 4 goals a game against one of the best defensive teams in the NHL. But that's kind of their only concern right now. Like, this feels lazy, but I just don't have that much more to say about this Vegas team that wasn't said in the previous round's preview. In fact, a lot of the teams, like Vegas, who are playing teams that they should beat. Vegas should have beat the Wild this year. Carolina should have beat the Devils. Capitals should have beat Montreal. The Leafs should have beat the Senators. Like, these were predictable results, right? Predictable meaning most likely, but it's hockey, so who actually ever knows. But you get to the second round and you're like, we didn't learn anything about the team, right? We didn't really learn anything. Like, the Oilers went against a very good Kings team, and I feel like I've learned some things about them, and we'll talk about that in a second, or more about that in a second. But at the end of the day, if we have several months worth of information that tell us you are this very thing, which Vegas was very consistent through the year, and then you have a 6-game series against a team that you're supposed to smack around, and yeah, there were some concerns there for a second, but for the most part, you just felt really good about it. You felt good about the Vegas beating Wild. It would have been pretty surprising if the Wild came out of that series. They're elite everywhere, except for goaltending, which is still better than what Edmonton has to offer, and the wings, which, I mean, we're going to talk about the important factors here, but they beat a team that they should have beat. That's boring, but that's what happened. That's it. So the important factors of this series. The first one's for Edmonton. Pickard or Skinner? Skinner was a disaster to the tune of over 6 goals allowed average and an .810 save percentage. That's like the worst. That's so bad. And Pickard, he jumped in to give you what you would more of expect, which is subpar to average backup goaltending play. An .893 save percentage and a 2.93 goals allowed average. Will the Oilers go with the current lesser of the two evils, or hope that Skinner can bounce back and lead them on a cup run like he did last year? They may sink either way, which honestly might make the choice easier, but in my head, you have to go with Pickard, right? He's the one who actually gave you a chance in these games. But I don't think Edmonton is going to be able to control the puck the way they did against this Vegas team. I mean, Edmonton was all over the Kings for the large stretch of those games. Vegas has the at least center depth to really fight back in that category and to possess the puck for themselves. I mean, if you're going to outshoot the opponent by 20 shots every night, you don't care that much about the goaltending, right? You just need them to be okay. But if you're playing a team that's playing you evenly, you need to go with the guy who has the higher ceiling. That's just why this is a hard debate. People acted like you have to go with Pickard, which I just said 2 seconds ago. But Skinner's highs have been really high. It's just we haven't seen it in a long time. I think I still go Pickard right now in game 1 and see how it goes, but woof, man, this sucks. Like, the Oilers are sitting there going, the other important factor, actually perfect time to bring this up. The Oilers' depth was great in round 1. Not something we expected at all. It is something we expected in the offseason when they signed all of this forward depth that made you go, oh my gosh, they might have the best offense in the league next year. They might have a historically good offense next year. That definitely didn't happen. But we spoke a lot about how top-heavy the Oilers are. Even after an offseason that made many of us think this would be the deepest team of McDavid's career up till now. The previous round saw the Knights having to shut down the Wild's top line. Like, that was what the preview was about for that series, is if you shut those guys down, you win. Flat out, you're done. And they didn't do a great job at it. They really didn't. But surprisingly, the Oilers saw contributions from all over their lineup in round 1, again against a very sturdy defense. 11 players for the Oilers had at least 3 points in round 1. If this continues, not just the Knights, every team in the playoffs is going to start feeling the pressure radiating from Edmonton. If this team's depth is going to be impactful through the playoffs, this team wins, right? I mean, Florida might actually be able to still shut them down, but it's such a huge advantage to have McDavid and Draisaitl. To have McDavid and Draisaitl and an actual team of NHL players behind them, ridiculous. Ridiculous. The last important factor is for the Knights. How badly will the Knights miss Dorofeyev? Now, we know that the Knights' greatest strengths are their back end and their center depth. The wing depth was supposed to be a weakness going into this year, but that didn't appear to be an issue at all. A huge part of that was the emergence of Dorofeyev, who just loves finding open ice and slamming rubber into nets. He likely won't be back for a first few games. I think he's projected for game 3 or 4. That might be hopeful. I don't know. But I think this makes this series look a little more even. As typically, I feel like I'd lean Vegas, Because when I dissect both rosters, I like having that depth down the middle. I like having that really physical, strong back end. But the Knights didn't have quite the same explosion of production from their depth in round one like the Oilers did. So they may actually need Dorofeyev back sooner rather than later to really be able to compete offensively if the Oilers are going to continue in the same fashion. Hopefully, we also get a better version than we got in round one of Dorofeyev. I wouldn't say he was necessarily bad, but you'd like to see him on the score sheet just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. My prediction for this series. I chose the Oilers to make it to the conference finals. I'm not changing that now. Nothing from the first round really made me feel strongly about this series or change my mind about too much. But I will say the math, the underlying numbers, the analytics, all that good stuff kind of points towards Vegas's strengths here. And more than anything, Edmonton's goaltending is terrifying. I mean, if you're worried that your team might have a sub 890 save percentage for a series, like that's a really scary position to be in. Not great. And still, I understand the run that they made to the Cup. I understand that Skinner was a big part of that. I would have really liked the Oilers to do something that made them feel a little more secure in net going into the playoffs. Because right now, it just looks like a glaring weakness. So we'll see who gets a start in game one. My money's on Picard after Skinner's been just so very bad. But this series, if the goaltending holds up on Edmonton's side and Hill gets back closer to what he typically is, then yeah, I think this series could be the best of the second round. Let's go Oilers. And of course, here at the end of the video, I love to give some shout outs to the fantastic high quality inspectors who help support the channel and keep this running. I super appreciate every single one of you, from the role player tier, the top line tier, and of course the all-star tier. We are going to do our shout outs for this top line tier. Thank you so much to Sean Kreider, Michael Kammerer, Chris and Erica, Kevin Timperley, Quackin' Platypus, JM, Smoke Channels, Shaggy, Adam Ella, Albert Waldron, Negev79, Lola Cattingsworth, EKM Productions, Moonlighter TV, Big Bad Bruin, The Bugman, Jeff with a G, Tommy Braga, Roland22, GD Viperworks, Len Kreutz, Brock Nope, Hans Slobo, Coach D, The Atomic Lizard, Bradley Johnson, Brett Arney, Pincent, and Nick Zatrullo. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. Your top line material. But now we got to move on to our all-star tier members, the absolute legends. We have Jacob Pratt, Jake Brower, Dampen, JG's 12, Mark S., Ann Hustis, Tim R., Lorenzo Wood, Penny Pasta, Levi Catalani, Boston Stringler, Bagel, Nightmare Eco, John Kirk, Joel, Stealthy Potato, Heil E. Coyote, Darren Woodbury, Abraxion, Wolf Warrior, Vinny, Adrian Winter, Tupton D. Tashi, Bruin Smash, D.A. Kingery, The Only Newts, A Tasty Snack, Dutes42, and Jeremy. Thank you all for all of the support and love that you are all giving. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, go Bees!